Mercy Watson, Princess in Disguise by Kate DiCamillo, Chapter 10. General Washington ran. Mercy ran after General Washington. Eugenia ran after Mercy. Baby ran after Eugenia. Mr. Watson ran after Baby. Mrs. Watson ran after Mr. Watson. Meow, said General Washington. Said Mercy. Pig, said Eugenia. Sister, said Baby. Darling, said Mr. Watson. Dear, said Mrs. Watson. General Washington ran through the living room and back into the kitchen. He ran out the open back door. Mercy was in hot pursuit. Her dress felt a bit snug, but it did not slow her down. She was having an excellent time. Chapter 11. Frank and Stella are brother and sister. Frank and Stella live at 50 Deckawoo Drive. Look at that, said Stella. What is it? Said Frank. It's a Halloween parade, said Stella. Stand back, said Frank. It looks dangerous. Wait for me, Stella shouted. I want to be in the parade too. Stella, shouted Frank. Stella! Chapter 12. General Washington raced to the end of Deckawoo Drive. He ran up the trunk of an old oak tree. Mercy stopped. Behind Mercy, Eugenia did not stop. Eugenia bumped into Mercy. Baby bumped into Eugenia. Mr. Watson bumped into Baby. Mrs. Watson bumped into Mr. Watson. Stella bumped into Mrs. Watson. And Frank bumped into Stella. Mercy looked up at General Washington. She sighed. She sat down. The chase was over. Mercy was very tired. She was very hot. Her tiara was pinching her ears, and her pink dress felt terribly snug. And even porcine princesses cannot climb trees. Chapter 13. Well, said Stella, I guess the parade's over. Nothing is over, Eugenia Lincoln shouted. She stared up into the branches of the tree. General Washington, come down here immediately. Meow, said General Washington. General Washington, I will not take no for an answer. Meow. Cats do not usually do what you ask them to, said Stella. Nonsense. General Washington always obeys orders. I think that cat is stuck, said Frank. Nonsense. General Washington is far too intelligent to get stuck. Eugenia called General Washington again and again, but General Washington would not move. I think, said Mr. Watson, it might be a good time to call the fire department. Chapter 14. At the fire station, the phone rang. Ned took the call. How's that? Said Ned. General Washington? Said Ned. Stuck up a tree? Said Ned. Right. We're on our way. That was a strange call, Ned said to Lorenzo. Apparently a general is stuck in a tree. Said Lorenzo. What is the address? Somewhere on Deckawoo Drive, said Ned. Deckawoo Drive, said Lorenzo. That is where the pig lives. Oh, boy, said Ned. We'd better hurry. Chapter 15. When Ned and Lorenzo got to Deckawoo Drive, they saw a large oak tree. Underneath the oak tree was a pig in a pink dress with a tiara on her head. It's just as I suspected, said Lorenzo. There is that pig. Yes, said Ned, but where's General Washington? Thank goodness you are here, said Baby Lincoln. What took you so long? Said Eugenia Lincoln. Is that General Washington? Said Ned. He pointed to the gray cat high in the oak tree. Of course it is. Meow, said General Washington. Lorenzo got a ladder from the truck. He leaned the ladder up against the tree. He climbed up the ladder. He reached out and grabbed hold of General Washington. He climbed down the ladder. He put General Washington into Eugenia's arms. Hooray! Everyone cheered. You can always count on the fire department, said Mr. Watson. That is what I say. Oh, we should celebrate, said Mrs. Watson. We should have a party. Mercy pricked up her ears. Parties, in Mercy's experience, almost always involved toast. Chapter 16. Everyone was in the Watsons' kitchen. Everyone was gathered around the Watsons' table. Have you ever had toast here? Lorenzo asked Stella. No, said Stella. You are in for a treat, said Ned. The toast here is excellent. Eating food at a stranger's house is potentially dangerous, said Frank. But we are not strangers, said Mrs. Watson. We are your neighbors. Meow, said General Washington. Bah! Who needs neighbors? Said Eugenia. But, oh, sister, here, have a butter barrel. My darling, my dear, my porcine princess, said Mr. Watson. Aren't you glad you put on the pink dress? Mercy put her snout up in the air. She sniffed. Bread was toasting, butter was melting, but the pink dress was terribly snug. But it was worth it, said Mercy. Happy Halloween, my darling, said Mr. Watson. Happy Halloween, everyone. The end.